Hydraulic fracturing, otherwise known as fracking, is a technique used to extract oil and natural gas from deep underground rock formations, like shale, that are otherwise too tight for the fuel to flow out naturally. If you look at this diagram of a fracking, well, you'll see how deep it actually goes, thousands of feet below the surface. This is where the chemicals are blasted into the earth. While this releases the gas, it also creates massive amounts of produced water, toxic wastewater that is often pumped back into the ground. In New Mexico, fracking is the engine behind the state's status as the second largest oil producer in the U.S., as of 2026, behind Texas. This is a list of the top 5 states that use the most oil: Texas, California, Florida, Louisiana, and New York. Forever Chemicals is the nickname for a large group of man-made chemicals called PFAs. They're called this because they stay in the ground forever and slowly travel into underground water, polluting New Mexico's clean water. This is a diagram of how fracking and forever chemicals work. The chemical compound of PFAs is incredibly strong, and the consequences of not stopping it are scary. If we let this keep going, we are looking at a future where our water causes chronic diseases. Our proposal is to stop fracking in New Mexico, but we are currently stuck in a cycle of loss of clean water over time. While it looks like a simple fix, our iceberg analysis shows the root cause is actually economic dependence on oil and gas. If we don't act now, New Mexico faces a mounting fiscal crisis. We have already seen a $150 million loss from a single contaminated farm. Beyond agriculture, we are trading up to 15 million gallons of fresh water per well for short-term gain, while leaving behind a legacy of forever chemicals that put thousands of families at risk for chronic kidney and thyroid diseases. The initial statewide study sampled 117 groundwater wells and 18 surface water sites across New Mexico between August 2020 and October 2021. PFAs were detected in all major rivers of New Mexico, with highest concentrations from sites downstream of urban areas. Total PFAs concentrations from surface water samples ranged from 1.0 to 155.4 nanograms per liter. Another reason we have to stop is what's happening in places like Eddy County. Because we are pumping so much fluid out and back into the ground, we are seeing massive sinkholes. Imagine the ground just opening up and swallowing everything above it, because the structures underneath have been weakened by fracking and brine extraction. Our solution to this is to replace oil and gas with clean energy such as solar, wind, geothermal, biomass, and hydroelectric energy. For this, we will need to build infrastructures such as utility-scale, solar and wind farms, battery storage systems, and transmission lines. Includes photovoltaic panels, solar trackers, inverters, mounting systems for desert environments, large wind turbines, gearboxes. Some may argue that using big lithium batteries can cause overheating. The OCD will monitor battery safety. However, we recognize the importance of our workforce. We would like to propose a new right to first hire provision. We will work with the NM Department of Workforce Solutions to retrain oil workers for high-paying roles in the geothermal and wind sectors. To fund this $9 to $11 billion investment, we will leverage New Mexico's clean fuel credit revenue and seek a strategic partnership with the State Investment Council's permanent funds. By using these established state revenue streams as collateral, we can secure the necessary federal grid resilience grants and low-interest loans from the Department of Energy to ensure the transition is fully funded. This ensures that the global transition to clean energy is funded by federal and private investment, not just by New Mexico taxpayers. Of course, it's important to be realistic. Switching to clean energy isn't perfect and comes with its own set of challenges. One of the biggest negatives is the upfront cost and the impact on workers currently in the oil and gas industry. Thousands of New Mexicans rely on fracking for their paychecks, and a sudden stop could hurt those families if we don't have a plan for them. There are also environmental concerns with clean energy, like how mining for lithium for our big battery systems can be destructive, or how solar farms take up huge chunks of desert land that animals live on. However, when we bring it back to the bigger picture, These negatives are much easier to manage than a total water crisis. We can solve the job problem by retraining oil workers to be the ones who install and maintain wind turbines and geothermal plants, skills that are actually very similar. We can also use brownfields, or land that is already ruined by old oil wells, to build our solar farms so we don't hurt more wildlife. While clean energy has its hurdles, a temporary job shift is much better than the permanent damage of forever chemicals in our blood and giant sinkholes in our backyards. In the end, the cost of clean energy is an investment, while the cost of fracking is a permanent loss. The more and more we continue to use fracking, the more we are endangering the public. If there is a chance of a good future, we must put an end to fracking for future generations so they can live in a world instead of a wasteland.